Is Aizen or Madara smarter than every DB villain? Mm, hmm.
What do you say?
Aizen. Yes, it's if Aizen or Madara is smarter than every Dragon Ball villain.
Um,
Aizen's up there. I wouldn't disagree. You're cool, Cole. You're cool.
I don't know. I think I think Eisen. It's like kind of hard to quantify. I feel like they are, but it's hard to quantify it actually. Like verse against verse.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like byproducts of the environment type shit. Like the other
yeah.
people they interact with. Yeah.
Like, are they intelligent because they're like well planned, or are they intelligent for like the way that they counter the other characters, or like what? Like,
I will say Aizen is the most convincing when it comes to that shit. Like Aizen can convince me that he is very, very smart when I was first reading through Bleach. Before like thinking about his plan and the things he was doing, I was very
I
convinced.
like, but you have to remember he planned that out for like hundreds of years, and then like, when he actually fights them, he kind of negates all of their abilities just because he's so much stronger. So
Yeah.
we never really see him in a position where he's actually like in an inferior one. So like when you look at like Moro, for instance, when like Moro has like he's like in the bottom hand a few times and he has to like get away with his quick wits and like figure out what to do.
Right.
Baby kind of does that too. But with Aizen, he's planned it out so long and is so strong, he just never really we never really see him in that position.
Yeah, it's like Aizen
And
was smart enough to like know he needed patience.
yeah, so I don't know. Is like is patience a sign of intelligence? Um,
It's
and then
like
it's I don't yeah.
you know how they be like, we need to factor in smarts into a versus battle, and it's like, well, if we're being realistic, this character's smart enough to just not take this nigga on.
Yeah.
It's something like that, and like Aizen's the real example of it.
Yeah, so Aizen's like a good planner. When it comes to like more of like his fluid intelligence, like what he does on the fly, that's like more debatable, I think. Like because, the only time we've ever seen him really in a situation where it was bad is like Yamamoto will sacrifice his arm to blow him up, which actually like caught him off guard. I guess he wasn't expecting Yamamoto to actually like sacrifice himself to defend the Soul Society and shit.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird. That caught him lacking. Ichigo kind of caught him lacking.
I mean, yeah, but when
And
Ichigo came back with the like post Dawn guy, that's what it's called, right? Where he did the
even before
training.
that, though, remember when he like came out after Yamamoto like grabbed him? He's like, "Oh shit!" Like it actually caught him lacking.
I actually don't remember that.
Yeah. Urahara like tricked him by putting bands in him and also like put seals in him at the same time. So I don't know. I don't even know how you would quantify his more like fluid intelligence. And then with Madara, we don't really ever see him in a situation like that too much either.
Yeah.
He just sort of gets betrayed. But otherwise he's like too strong to quantify it.
Madara
He's
is
just like a
also
planet.
like almost always the aggressor.
Yeah.
Like he's never really put in a position where he has to defend because everybody else is like chilling, and then fucking Madara's like, nah, fuck this.
Like I feel like what Shikamaru does is kind of like a better example of like someone like using their actual raw IQ in like a bad situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just because like I think Kishimoto is just focusing on it. He doesn't really imagine these other characters like hyper intelligent and do that. I don't know.
Light not touching Aizen. Okay. Invite swag.
Light,
Swag is
Light
sleep.
is like a normal human being, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
he's like okay. Light is pretty intelligent. Like what he did with the potato chips is kind of nasty, but like otherwise, it's like not like too superhuman or something. It's not too crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like a problem with writing super smart characters. Is like the author themselves isn't a 230 IQ nigga. So writing a 230 IQ nigga is going to be difficult for him.
I feel like the only way to do that is to like spend like a month or two with every decision your character makes. Like,
Yeah,
so like whenever the character's all right, I'm gonna think about what he's gonna do for like a month straight, and like that would be more accurate to what they would do, like
I
what
think
your conclusion came to.
I think the way they handle it in Death Note was pretty fire. Where instead of doing that, they made it where Light just had hella character flaws that made him make
Yeah.
dumb decisions. Yeah, it's better that way.
Want to
Unless you want to
debate
spend, like a year per chapter.
want to debate L versus Light. L is smarter. They're actually more like relative, but I just my Light versus L video was just me like counting the actual feats that they do. But the narrative is just they're just relative. For sure.
Derek Lundell, thanks for the $5, but you retracted your message. I don't know what you said.
I think it's just kind of like subjective from there, like based on like what you would think, like you'd think L would be smarter because like he has to figure more things out or something, but otherwise it is just like they're just described as being relative by most people that actually analyze them in the story. I think even L considers it too. At one point, I forgot what he said, so I'm not too interested in arguing about it.
Light just had literal gods on his side. How serious do you take that opinion? Like
What?
Light only had more things at his disposal, so he's not actually smarter than L. Like, how serious do you take?
No, the Light's a lot of Light's intelligence comes from he's just like Light is obviously more like kinesthetically intelligent and more verbally intelligent. So like he's more physically intelligent and more like socially intelligent than L, if that makes sense. So like he clearly can use those aspects to get the upper hand on him at a lot of points in the story. So like he knows how to have people turn on L, or to like make people. He knows how to convince people he's good more than L can convince people he's bad, because he understands how people work more than him, it's kind of like a weird dynamic. And so when it gets down to it, you have like Light able to act so well. He can act in front of like 80 cameras staring at him, murdering people like with a bag of potato chips while he does his homework, and he can just get away with it because he's just that socially intelligent. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And his kinesthetic intelligence is like displayed in the tennis match, but you could also just say he was trying harder. It's kind of subjective, but yeah, I just think he's just more socially intelligent, and that's like an advantage he has for sure. And that social intelligence also kind of, I think, like a good example, right? Like Rem, like I think Rem is kind of like a middleman. Like she's clearly wants to, she's pro Misa, right? But I also think that if L was smarter, he might have been able to manipulate Rem a bit, which he just wasn't able to really do. And I think that's also just another example of just Light's social intelligence that he has an advantage in. And I think the data books talk about that too.
Who's the smartest villain in all of Dragon Ball? Shit. You probably had the answer to this offhand, don't you? Like you just thought of it immediately?
I was replying to a DM. What did it say?
The smartest villain in all of Dragon Ball.
What is this? Like original?
No, I think he means like every like series, all of it.
It's got to be either Moro or Beerus, I think.
Moro or Beerus. Yeah, I can get behind that. I would
at least like in the
just
mainline villains. Mainline villains.
Yeah. What do you think about Baby? Like, how do you think he fits into that conversation?
I mean, he's like intelligent in the sense like scientifically, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It depends what you mean by intelligence. I think that's important.
Gero.
Yeah, I mean, like Gero, like is Gero the smartest because of like his scientific pursuits, or Are we talking about like who I think is like a smarter warrior or like actual just villain, like smarter with villainy? I don't know.
Thought Beerus was a neutral guy after the fight and basically became an ally. I mean, yeah, but he was still a villain. You gotta take into account his smarts. Like after that, smarter with being a villain is what he meant. He elaborated for $2 more. I mean,
Yeah, I think
probably Moro then.
yeah, I think Moro was the most versatile and interesting then. Dro is weird because Dro is considered like hyper intelligent, but what he did was kind of fucking stupid.
Yeah,
He clearly like I don't. But you could argue that like he let his anger get involved or something, but otherwise, like what he did was not actually that intelligent.
I'm gonna put this nigga in timeout. This nigga's still making like on the run and dad jokes. Like we've all moved on to another part of the conversation. You lame ass.
Yeah.